on the Swissy for at least, well, right into October. So we're looking at June to July, August, September, around about a quarter of information. So around about 3 months of information, suggesting that the Swissy starts to grind to the upside. And where I dive into this a little bit deeper is if I compare now the Swissy to the other currencies, then look at what it's against the Kiwi. This is the Kiwi May to June grind. It grinds along against the Swissy. So it would suggest that, the Kiwi is also potentially relatively strong against the Swissy. So we wouldn't want to trade the Swissy Kiwi, the Kiwi Swiss on a seasonal bias. We haven't got enough from the COT report. So the COT report is not really suggesting that we're going to get, huge breakouts. So now we're going to try and add a different element, and the seasonal suggests don't trade the Kiwi Swiss. But when we go down to the others, Aussie Swiss, this is the May. This is the blue line is the historical data. Very bearish. It comes right down right until July. Cad Swiss, really bearish. This one is an absolute spanking one. Coming down, 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 down. So Cad Swiss is also bearish. Euro Swiss. This is May, going into June, right the way down to July. Very bearish. And finally, the pound Swissy as well. Pound Swiss into May, coming down. Looks like, this is going into June and a little pop, but down again. So we could probably bring up the Kiwi and probably see something quite similar, where the Kiwi is relatively strong against some of these currencies because it was the only one that was, pretty flat. And you can see actually pound Kiwi is pretty bearish as well. So looks like we're edging to we're moving towards Swissy or the Kiwi for the long. And where I find that quite interesting is that even though the COT data is not giving us the information, if you think about those two particular currencies and the way their economies are made up, Swissy very much in the risk off camp, Kiwi very much in the risk on camp, commodity based, commodity driven economy. So you could almost go into your week or month with a world view. And if your world view is that we are, expectations should be for dampening growth, you would edge for the Swissy. If you think that we're much more likely to be stable to bullish, you would edge towards the Kiwi. So if you are not sure, you just leave things alone, and that's really what the COT data says to us straight away. Be very, very careful thinking that you're going to get an expansive trend over the next few weeks. What we could be waiting for but now is June, that the next Federal Reserve speech, the next Federal Reserve news press conference, the next Bank of England press conference. We know about inflation. We know about all the negative stuff, and everybody needs to recognize that, yes, data is negative, news is negative, prices are going way beyond, central banks are reacting, but we know that now. So that'll be priced in. What's coming? What's next? Are we now going to get Are we going to start leveling off a bit and still see a bit of growth in the economy? If we are, Kiwi looks pretty good. Are we going to get another shock? If we are, looks like the Swissy looks good. So I suppose in summary, mate, there's a little bit of uncertainty, and it's probably better to either sit back or at least wait for some specific signals before you kind of dive into this market, because information suggests that the bigger players are in balance, very much in balance.
Interesting. When I was doing my analysis earlier, I noticed that the Swissy had a decent week last week. In fact, it had a really good week last week, suggesting to me, and the Canadian dollar came off, which surprised me a little bit, given that we've got oil prices going up still. The CAD had good news on CPI data during the week. To me, it's a really, really strong currency. I don't see the commodity prices coming down anytime soon. Is that happening? Have I missed something?
No, mate, but as I say, this is where we start to see that the fact that all the stuff that is happening now, we anticipated 2-3 months ago, and that's now been priced into the market. Yes, oil isn't coming down, but it's not exploding either. We're not kind of getting that move back up to the 120
we hope not.
level. No, well, I mean, you just don't know, though. You don't know what's coming. You're absolutely right. And what that would suggest is that if the CAD eases a little bit, it's still a buy. It's still a buying opportunity. But, allowing it to ease and probably not trading in the opposite direction because the data is still pretty positive would be a good position to be in. And the COT data sort of suggests that we might be going through that right now. We might be going through a bit of a sideways consolidation market where things aren't turning around. There's nothing suggesting the current trends that are in motion are about to turn around. But there is a suggestion that maybe positions are held right now and that they're probably going to stay a lot for this particular period until we see some price action retrace.
Yep, makes a lot of sense to me. Mate, as Paul suggested, you're about to jump on a plane on the next day or so.
Yeah, Tuesday.
For that reason, we'll let you pack tomorrow and we won't have a Trading Buddies show. I'll miss you, man. We'll catch up in a week, right?
We'll catch up in a week or two. Yeah.
Actually,
we won't. We'll catch up next week. You and I think we'll be doing Trading Buddies next week while I'm in Singapore.
We're doing an internal Trading Buddies. That's right.
We are indeed. Yeah.
All right, mate. I hope it's a great week and enjoy Singapore. Not sure how you enjoy the flight, but anyway, it is what it is. Have fun.
Oh no, the flight is one thing I am looking forward to. A little bit of quiet.
You can have a snooze. Fair enough.
Yeah. A little bit of quiet before the retreat, which again,
so Molly's not going with you?
No, goodness me. Gosh, you know what? She tied me out this weekend with her partying, but the retreat is going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that, but it does start on the flight for me. I'm going to really look forward to the flight.
All right, you better get your presentation ready as well. Right, I'll let you go. Have a good Sunday.
Thanks, buddy. You too. See you guys.
Okie dokie. Look, we're going to stay in the UK now, and we're going to check in with Chloe to see exactly what she's looking at for the upcoming week. She's coming to us via video, so let's roll that video and say good day to Chloe.
Only mode.
Hi everyone, Chloe here. Hope you've had a good week and looking forward to a good week ahead. I'm just going to go through a couple of things in the Forex markets that I'm looking out for this week. So starting off with dollar yen. Dollar yen, as you are aware, has been in a nice strong uptrend for the last few weeks. And this is the monthly time frame I've got up here, just to show you the two levels that I'm looking at are the two levels potentially that could become support. So looking at the weekly time frame here, price has been basically going up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks. We've now had a couple of weeks of retracement, and that has brought us down to the monthly pivot. It hasn't brought us down to either of the horizontal levels of support that I've marked out, but the monthly pivot is an important level of support in itself. So the things that I'm looking out for potentially this week would be a potential bounce from the monthly pivot, and for that I would need to see a decent bullish candle. So the candle from here, this candle here from last Thursday, that's not bullish enough. That's really more of a doji. It's an indecision candle. I would have liked to have seen something a little bit more decisive bouncing from the monthly pivot. So I'm hoping that might happen. And if that does happen, then I will consider trading long from here. However, the structure that I'm seeing here, I'm losing confidence in the bullishness of this market on the daily time frame. Not to say that it won't return to the uptrend, but just on the daily time frame, I'm now starting to see this lower high, lower lows here, and there is the potential for price to even break through the monthly pivot and come down and test this next horizontal level. And if that were to happen, then I would be equally happy to take a long trade from there. Obviously, depending on the setup, we've got to think about strategy at the time of the setup, but we've basically got 1 week left of the month. So if price comes all the way down here, it will come to the 50 moving average. And if it bounces at that point and moves back up, perhaps by the time it gets up to that monthly pivot, instead of the monthly pivot acting as resistance, perhaps that monthly pivot might already have moved, and in which case there may be an opportunity to trade long from there. So I'm looking quite far into the future here, but just to explain my my options and my thoughts about dollar yen. So my priority is to look for long opportunities, but it does mean that we've got to wait a little bit with patience to see the right kind of setup. The next thing that I want to look at is euro dollar. Now I'm starting with the monthly timeframes. Monthly time frame is always where I start with my analysis, and I just want to show you these levels here, the horizontal levels, so important in trading, whether you're a trend trader, whether you're a range trader, whether you're a short time frame trader or a long time frame trader. So important to get those horizontal levels because they can act as support and resistance. So I see price down here on euro dollar, down at this level of potential support. So if we go to the daily time frame here, yes, it has been in a downtrend. I've got lower highs and lower lows here. But because of where price is around this level of support that I pointed out, again, I am losing confidence in the downtrend on the daily time frame. So instead, what I'm looking at, especially with this price action here, is I'm looking at a deeper retracement. And again, I'd like to see that retracement come up to the monthly pivot. If it comes to the monthly pivot, then perhaps it may coincide also with the 50 moving average, and that might be an appropriate place to start to look for a potential trade to the downside. But all the while being very aware that these strong levels of support are in the way. So of course, only entering a trade if the reward to risk is suitable to do so. Looking at cable, the British pound against the US dollar, price has come down. It's not quite come down to this level of support, but it's not far off. And that's why, again, we've got a strong downtrend here, but I am just being a little bit cautious about taking any short trades while it looks to me like price needs to pull back further. And again, I'd love to see price pull up to the monthly pivot up here, 50 moving average, and then see if there might be a short trade there. Aussie dollar, again, looking at the monthly time frame, just to point out the strong level of horizontal support that I'm looking at here. Support from all the way back in 2000 and 2014, 2015. It's been support again, 2018. There's been resistance in 2020, support again in 2020. So this is a very strong level here. And while price has dipped below this level, it has not really fully broken below this level. It's traded below for a short while, but right now it's sitting right above that level. So again, yes, I see a downtrend here, but I'm being very, very cautious about my trading now on Aussie dollar, because I don't want to be trading short into this strong horizontal level. Of course, I will trade short if price gets back below that level, but at the moment I'm just being very, very cautious. If I do see a setup here on the daily time frame, I might take it if the reward to risk was at least 1-to-1. It doesn't look to me like it would be, unfortunately. So it would be a case of perhaps going down to a lower time frame to find a suitable reward to risk entry. So that's another one I'm treating with a little bit of caution just because of where it sits on the monthly time frame. Now, my analysis wouldn't be complete without pointing out a couple of things that I am really interested in trading, and it's the oils. The oils, just very briefly, because they've been consolidating for quite some time. This one, for example, we've got Brent, and it's been consolidating beneath this horizontal level of resistance for quite some time. I'm looking for price to break out. So I'm looking for price to break out to the upside, and if it does, I definitely want to be looking for long opportunities there. So that's something that I've got a very, very close eye on this week. Same as WTI. In fact, I'm even more bullish on WTI because this one, at least, I do have a higher low and a higher high. Price is just breaking above the previous high there for the day. So I'm definitely bullish on WTI and actively looking for potential long opportunities there. So that's it from me for today. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Happy trading, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers, everyone.
Good stuff. Thanks to Chloe for that, and looking forward to catching up with Chloe on Wednesday, I think, in the trading retreat, of course, that our clients have at their disposal if they are at a certain level. I'm to go into what I'm looking for this week, and we'll start with the game changer bars, the weekly game changer bars. Game changer bars for me, of course, are bars or candles, in this case, for most of us, that are potentially change of direction from the previous week, before last week, if that all makes sense. In other words, a candle that is suggesting that we go in a certain direction. Let's have a look at them. Well, there are 6, I think, in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in total this week, and the first of them is this one: Australian dollar versus the Canadian dollar. In fact, the commodity currencies are featuring heavily this week in my game changer analysis. What I do see here is clearly a double bottom that is forming. I don't say that it's formed just yet, but the potential is certainly there. Last time we had pretty much exactly the same thing, but the interesting part here is that we had an engulfing bar off this level, which is what, 89.20 odd, and this time we don't. So I'm just not that keen on trading this long at the moment. The criteria is met because we've got a new low and it's closed on or near its high. That's the criteria that I need for trading the long. But really what they do, rather than give me an entry, is give me a directional bias for the week, and only for the week. It's not something that I'm suggesting will go, and reverse and go to hell, and in this case to heaven. So I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am suggesting is I'm not prepared to trade this long until I get a confirmation of that double bottom, which in my case is going to be a higher low in here. And it's not there just yet. One I'm a little bit keener on is Aussie Kiwi. And you've got to remember as well, guys, that we've had a federal election and a change of government here in the last 24 hours. And that will be interesting. And I want to see how the market reacts to this tomorrow morning, and probably in the first couple of days of the week. But there has been a quantum shift, if you like, not so much in the change of government, but of course that is a shift. But in the general flavour, if you like, or general overwhelming theme going through Australia in terms of governments at the moment. Flying away from, in fact, the Labor government, which is now in power, or will be in power, taking power, got less than 1/3, and there's only a 2-horse race, right? It got less than 1/3 of the primary vote. And that to me is very, very interesting. It does mean a change of groundswell, if you like, certainly from the previous election. Be interested to see how the market reacts to that tomorrow. And I'm not suggesting that we trade the way I believe that will be responded to. And I think the Aussie, certainly the stock market, won't be happy with that, I don't believe. And I think the currency market will not tread kindly on the Aussie either as a result of the election. I'm no economist, and I'm not suggesting that you take any particular notice of what I'm saying, but if you do see some downside in the Aussie, I would suggest that that is probably the reason, or one of the reasons, let's put it that way. So Aussie Kiwi is definitely on my watch list. It's an interesting place that we find it, of course. We have a trend line break. We have a lower high in place. What we don't have is a clear lower low. So I've got to see this area cleared and retested before I get interested. There's a little bit of a close below that trade line. So a bull bar here tomorrow would get me interested on Tuesday morning. But it really, I'd like to see an entry down here rather than, at the support level. And it's recently strong. You can see a resistance through here and support through here. So it's going to be tough to trade short at this level. Again, I want to see what the market, or how the market reacts to that Aussie change of government. I am favouring downside. I've got to say that for the Aussie. Cad Swiss is the next on our list, and Cad Swiss massive bar, and that's why I asked Ash the question that I did, and he put a very, very good spin on this. The fact that we've seen this go up, 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 and gravity seems to have taken hold here. It's a whole big statement though. Massive bearish engulfing bar here on Cad versus Swissy. I said the Swissy had a good week last week, not only against the Cad, but against a bunch of currencies. So I think this is probably a reflection of the strength of the Swissy rather than the weakness of the Cad, and the fact that Ash spoke about. It's come off its highs because gravity takes over and people just take profits. And I think this is probably a good one to take a closer look at. And sorry, that is a closer look. It's not what I was really looking for. Closer look I was looking for is the level that we're about to or perhaps we're about to retest. It's been very, very strong for about 12 months, a bit more than 12 months, and price then back in February, March, rather, broke through this, and this is the pullback off that. If it came back to that level, the retest, if you like, then I think that's a great place to look for longs on CAD Swissy. A lot depends on, of course, you're talking a commodity currency versus a risk-off currency, and world events will play their part, no question. But I think technically that's a very, very good place to be looking. CAD Yen is the next one. CAD Yen is not a game changer bar, but whilst I'm here, you can see that there's a little bit of a rounding off. I'm not sure where that level is that we need to retest before we can look for longs here, but I think I'd be leaving this one off. Frankly, it's not on the list, and I don't know why I've got that highlighted. I should get rid of it. There you go, it's done. Next one is, in fact, Pound Kiwi. Now, Pound Kiwi, I've been a bull on for quite some time, or I've been bullish on it for quite some time. Yeah, very, very difficult to catch this one. Last week, sorry, it's last month. Last week it came off the low. The week before that we got her down, and last week we came almost to the breakout area. We broke out, we came back, and that's exactly what we're seeing in last week's candle. So therefore, that's a game changer bar to the downside. I think there's probably room for that. We've got a clear double bottom sitting here. It's a mess, to be fair. But the game changer bar is saying go short. I have no reason to think that's not possible. And looking at this chart, the range that we're in on the daily doesn't really give me a whole lot of confidence in going short at this level. So I'm going to give this one a miss. But really, my focus is not on this week coming. It's on the week after. So I'd like to see a pullback maybe to that level and look for longs then. That's a little bit out of our range at the moment, but I think that's where I'm headed. The next one is Kiwi Cad. Sorry, I'm feeling a lot of time here. Kiwi Cad seems to be on the run here on the daily chart, weekly chart. For that reason, it's showing us a game changer bar. Again, not an engulfing bar, so I'm not that confident that this can actually go for a distance. What I do see is a horizontal level up here that's recent, the previous low. That confident, I've got to say. But if it does pull back and give us a higher low on the daily chart based on that turnaround point back to here, higher low, okay, I get interested. But at this point, no, I'm not going to trade that weekly game changer bar. The last of them is, dollar Swissy. Now, we've spoken on the Trading Buddy show a whole lot about the dollar index and how it was at, again, that gravity point where gravity is sure to take over at some stage and pull the market back. I think dollar Swiss is a good representation of that. The problem that we've got here, the weekly chart, of course, the game changer bar is a massive bearish engulfing bar. The problem that we've got here is that's one candle versus all of this. And do we then go, oh, this is crashing, it's going to the dogs or going to hell in a handbasket? I think Ash covered that very, very well in saying that the market is so overcooked it just had to come down. And again, I think gravity is playing its part. I'm not a fan of the dollar. by any stretch. But to trade this, on that bar is just too much of a challenge for me. I've got to see a lower high before I would do that. So maybe a rally, and if we get the right signal up there, maybe. But at this point, it's a no from me. The one I really want to watch this week, apart from all those game changer bars, which once again I say are directional bias rather than, okay, jump in now and trade them. They're just giving me an indication of where price may go throughout the coming week. I think it's Aussie Yen for me. I've got a little inside bar here. Terrible bar to trade, of course, on the weekly chart, but it is suggesting to me, if you go to the daily chart, and we can see a very, very clear, well, I can see it clear here. Let's call it a head and shoulders. What I will call it is a range that's had a high, a false break, and now a lower high in this level here. We've broken the neckline if that's the case, and we've come back to retest it. Interesting play on the weekly pivot last week. Very, very difficult to get into this. And I was very cognizant that I wanted to get into this short after it retested this level. I think we've now got an appropriate opportunity where Wednesday's bar broke the weekly pivot. Thursday's bar came back and retested it, giving me a double cross on the weekly pivot. I wasn't trading on Friday, otherwise I would have placed an order underneath that bar with my stop loss up here. I think that's completely still, and that will be the first thing to look at tomorrow morning, dependent once again on what happens with market in terms of that federal election result, which of course is a factor. I'm not sure exactly how the market will look. My preference or my bias would be that the Aussie will go short on the back of a Labor government, and the indecision really that the market or that the election actually threw up at us, where we really have no strong or firm belief that any one of those parties or the two major parties is the one to govern. So that's pretty much where I'm at. What would the impact of this? Oh, sorry, there's a question. What would be the impact of the Australian elections on? Well, that's my opinion. But I'm definitely no economist, and I don't have any credentials in that area. I think of logic more than anything else, and because it's perceived in Australia that, or by the world, basically, that the Labor government of Australia is not as good at managing money as is the Conservative or Liberal government, which of course has now lost power. I think that logically says to me that it's not going to be a good reaction from the market tomorrow. But I think you need to wait on that reaction to make a trading opinion anyway. So that's where I'm at with the Aussie dollar. But it's firmly in my focus for that reason, because I think we are going to see a reaction. I just wanted to see what the early one is before I jump in. All right, folks, thank you very much for your company once again. And we do apologise for the technical issue that we had at the beginning. It does happen, and I'll leave it at that. Have a great week ahead. Enjoy yourselves. Don't forget, no trading buddies tomorrow or Thursday. In fact, there's none of the YouTube shows or the free shows going out on Wednesday or Thursday due to the internal trading retreat. So if you're involved in the trading retreat, or if you are in Singapore attending the trading retreat, a wonderful week. Don't forget to tune in, listen, make some notes. Look, there's a whole lot of stuff going on there. A lot of information will come your way. Enjoy it, consume it, and use it. Have a great week ahead, guys. Bye-bye for now.